everybody, Zane here, and I'm here talking about the Best Picture nominations at the Academy Awards this year. Also on the matter, this will be my last vlog video about award predictions. I originally just started it because there was nothing else I could do during COVID, and figured this would be something. But now that I've relocated back to Los Angeles and will be pursuing future endeavors with like music videos and other stuff, I will be stepping down from like the whole award vlog stuff. I'll still share predictions like through Gold Derby on like social media stuff and all that. So keep following me at Zane Morrow, at Zane M Official. Show on my social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter are the essential ones. But continuing this whole last wave of videos, yes, I said videos, I am splitting this one into two parts. The first one, which we'll start in a moment, is going to be about me ranking each of the 10 best pictures, like from number 10 to being the weakest of the bunch, although, or at least or compared to the other ones, but doesn't always mean bad or super great or something like that. It doesn't really matter, which I'll get into in a moment. Then this part 2 will be me actually picking the categories individually. Which one do I think will win or will be close enough to be the runner-up? Could be a surprise. So yeah, it's kind of like that phase where I will use a little bit of Gold Derby as like a thing to compare it to, but I'll still have my actual picks, and I'll try and explain my actual picks as much as I can, and then yeah. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, the number 10 on the ranking system out of literally all 10, one being the best and my pick, and which will double down as my pick, so it kind of leads into part 2, so that'll probably be a little bit more obvious, but I still have to say it for obvious reasons, but I'm just doing, but remember, this part is about ranking where do I feel each movie falls, like ranked by each other, one after the other, so, but bear in mind, it was actually a pretty good year this year. This year and last year were really good years. So, and we're going to dive into that a bit. So, the first one, at number 10, Poor Things. Now, I'm sure some of you are just thinking, and did I make a mistake? Am I being crazy? Or because this was like one of the most acclaimed movies from critics and certain audiences for a long period of time, but I'm just telling you straight, no, I am not kidding you. I'm being serious. I did put this as number 10, and though it has its qualities, which I will get into in a moment, but unfortunately, I don't consider this as the top of any list. Now, I have to piggyback again. This is not a bad movie. Unlike a couple years ago where Pedophilia Encouragement the movie and The Dull of the Boring were both nominated for Best Picture, and many people thought those should have been nominated for loco reasons. Oh, and if anybody was confused by those titles, those are the actual titles of what those movies were called. The Pedophilia Encouragement the movie was Licorice Pizza, and then Power of the Dog was The Dull of the Boring, or whatever I said it, or however I said it. But however, now, aside from that, Poor Things is a much better movie than those movies from a couple years ago. Yeah, in every way possible. Even where Poor Things is like weaknesses or critiques they are better than those other movies I just mentioned. See, it's much better. Is it a masterpiece or a great movie? Well, not so much, but what I do like about it very much is the acting, specifically Emma Stone, which which maybe getting a little ahead of myself, I think could win Best Actress, her second Oscar. So luckily we'll get more into that in the category video. Along with Mark Ruffalo and William Dafoe, basically everybody. The cast is great. Hey, and they did a good They all did good. And what I really liked was the production design and the costume design. And like, I kind of like for the production design, like when they saw the tram over like Libyan or wherever, I wish I was in that tram. I love that stuff. And for the most part, pretty aesthetics, good, pretty fair sound design, and makeup. Makeup was good. However, the critiques, I'll start with the more, the harsher one, the more negative one, then move up to the make it lighter as we go. The runtime, yeah. A movie like this, like basically Emma Stone, with a kid brain trying to expand and become adult and all that, Frankenstein, all that. However you want to interpret it, 2.5 hours is really, really pushing it. Yeah, this is kind of the story that would have been better under 2 hours. Yeah, under 2 hours. So pushing at like what, over 140 minutes with all this and some of the things. It's just unnecessary and pushes very unnecessary buttons and it just doesn't work. Well, for the runtime I'm talking about, if it was like trimmed down, it would have worked out a lot better and flowed better. Now, adding to the other parts, some of the minor critiques are where I have mixed opinions about the cinematography. Now, a lot of you are wondering, thinking, its lighting is amazing, I love it. I mean, the lighting and the dolly movements are not the issue. It's the use of the zooms and the unnecessary wide focal and peephole focal lengths. Let's just say, they were not innovative. They were more distracting and took me out of the movie. It was like, there were a select couple moments where it did work, if it was like the point of view shot. But if it wasn't a point of view shot and they were using it, it was just kind of pointless. And it just did not, and it kind of ruined it ruined the frame. And when there was a dolly zoom movement, and then you just immediately zoom, it kind of ruined the perfectly good shot. It's like, right here, a simple dolly movement can suffice. But if I were just to zoom in immediately, it would be very random and very weird. In a not so good way. Okay. There are limits to weirdness. So that's why I have a mixed thing with the whole cinematography where, like I said, the focal lengths and use of zooms, not so great, but the lighting and the dolly movements, they are good. If you're judging for those two key things, then it's good. Just the other stuff, sorry, it's just how I see it, and how a lot of others see it. They're probably just not willing to admit it. Then there was kind of mixed pluses on the score or being a little over the top, but for certain moments, but otherwise it was solid. Then for film editing, it's mostly good, except for a few bad cutaway shots, which kind of also were the cutaway shots with the bad use of focal lengths. But other than that, it's solid. But all those also lead to the directing. It's kind of like some of the directing and some of the blocking and all that stuff was it just didn't look or feel like it could have been like that. It felt like some moments felt like not even trying at all. On other parts, it was just too bland. But the best parts of the directing were particularly when it's with Emma Stone and her character. So I give him points for that. So that is what I have with the breakdown with this one. And so, yes, it's a solid movie and definitely better than most of this guy's predecessors, but a masterpiece and best of the year? No, not exactly. Not even close. But it's still a solid movie, and yeah, just bear that in mind. Now, number 9, The Zone of Interest. And this one's like one of those like it is a solid movie and definitely, and it's a very interesting premise. How just like I'm trying to figure out the right way to phrase it. It's like one of those movies where it's like it just feels almost like trying for a slice of life or just following people around and hoping things happen, which, you know, I get iffy on that stuff because if you're gonna make a movie, it's best not to do a movie where you're just following people around and hoping something happens. That's just a documentary. However, I'm gonna start with the positives. Maybe that will help me. Where it actually has pretty solid cinematography, good acting, and solid directing, and good music and sound design, which that's a big thing in this one because a lot of it is about like on the other side where you don't see it but you hear it, which is usually takes a flip from what cinematographers and other people try to advocate for, or show don't tell, or you know, that's mainly towards dialogue. Although my debate with that one is a little bit different, but that's a whole different thing. So this one was like more hearing, not showing, right? Or partially, while other parts were like hearing and showing. You know, that was the showing part was more how the characters are just having to just live their life as they can and ignore it. Now, yeah. However, the kind of the weak points about this one is like feels like whatever themes are applied in here don't hit as much as they could, and there's certain characteristics and storyline stuff that just don't work. That just feel bland or just not fulfilled. Like what I'm trying to say is like it kind of starts off in a way where it kind of feels like we're just entering the end of the first act and beginning of the second act, if that makes sense. Like we don't really show, like it just shows the camera already in motion, which honestly I think that's a little bit buggy, and I've seen online reviews and people also debating this too, but maybe and comments like basically like disagree with them. Maybe it's just the way some of them said it, that certain people, and maybe you'll probably get confused by the way I say it, but what I'm trying to say is like it would have been helpful. I kind of feel that the screenplay, the narrative would have been better if we got a little sense of them, the family, like before he got assigned to Auschwitz. And it's, you know, like it begins with him being assigned and him having to tell everybody, and then they move there and then they have to adjust. I feel like I needed that in order to connect a little bit more, because then we're just thrown into it. It's just like I get to a certain degree, but will I actually defend it? God, no. Sorry. All right. It's just like maybe it's just the narrative part of me of my brain, but that's just, and the writer part of it, but that's just how I see it. I'm sure others see it, but either they agree or disagree, or they do agree, but they're just ignoring that. And so, now all that being said doesn't mean, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. And there is like, yeah, so it's still solid, just more like story and writing wise and pacing is kind of its issue, so that's going to be probably more discussed with the category video. You know, but like I said, the hearing and witnessing like them trying to live their life while all of these bad things are happening, thing is still interesting, and you do get to see a little bit of him, the guy in charge. Definitely, there's a little bit of fragments where he's just like not okay with it, but he has to do it because of orders. Yeah. So though, I mean, as far as character stuff go, I'd say his is the only one that had like specific solid beats. The other ones didn't really have it. Even the kids, it's just like so that could be debatable, but that's just how I interpreted it, and how I'm sure a bunch of others do it. Just, you know. Anyway, but yeah, still a solid movie. But number 9, For number 8, I picked Maestro. Oh, basically, particularly the high points of this movie are the acting, particularly Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan, and along with its cinematography, sound design, and directing, and the makeup, and obviously the production values and all that stuff. Now, obviously, I've seen certain people already kind of debating and criticizing primarily the story elements, where it's like not enough showing him do all the musical stuff, and maybe questionable choices of focusing too much on the family and stuff like that, and they wanted more of that. At times, I can understand it, but I still can't ignore the fact that in general, it still has good dialogue and interesting character dynamics. And it's just an interesting character. He's a very interesting character for Bradley Cooper to play. It's just like that. I'm sure I hope a lot of people also do agree with that and do see that. Now, again, I can see why people were a little bit iffy about like certain story elements and leaving things out, or just or maybe a few other things. But I'm not that nitpicky about that. I still think it's a very solid movie. It's no A Star Is Born, but it's still solid. But it's still solid, and captivating, and at times relatable. So, yeah. Number 7, Past Lives. Yeah, this one's like a very simple but compelling story. And obviously, great acting, great cast, a really good screenplay, and the writer and director was a playwright. So basically, and then it works. So that usually people get nitpicky about movies being like plays. I mean, I'm not that nitpicky, mostly, but yeah, it's like one of the rare occasions, but it works. It's like a simple story and just like, and at times relatable to people in the past, and as from childhood to people living in different parts of the world. Well, there's just like all these different layers. And it's compelling. Yeah, simple. Yeah, and it's just like another idea thing that is like, just because it's simple doesn't mean you should overlook it. Okay, it doesn't mean you should cast it aside or whatever, or assume that it's not going to be valuable or watched. Because simple, in my opinion, sometimes simple is better than just trying to do overly chaotic things. Shoving too many things at once, which at times there are. Luckily this year with the nominees, they didn't really do that as much. Maybe a couple movies in small sections, but I think another reason why I like this movie is because it's just super straightforward. You're not trying to think too metaphorical or philosophical or anything, or plot twists or anything. You're not relying too heavily on all those other things. The next one is American Fiction. Yeah, this one's actually an interesting movie. Maybe a little bit weird and chaotic at times, and sometimes a little bit questionable ending. But I think maybe it was just hard for me to process at first. But I think I processed it. But at the same time, it's something that I, for one, really like the performances. Especially Jeffrey Wright and Sterling K. Brown. Can never go wrong with him. Actually a really good screenplay and solid directing. It was Cord's first time directing, so very, very well done. And I mean, it's not one of those like big aesthetically pleasing movies like over like fancy or all that, but it's still solid and still works for the movie. And I liked it's like the satire-ness in it, and all the themes and some of the stuff that we do kind of have seen in like both movies and literature, and some of it's now and some of the other things that it tackles, and also the family dynamics that are included in this. But yes, this is a solid. It's solid, and yeah. Number 5, Barbie. Yep, but this is the fun one. Yeah, we have to say this is like probably the fun, kind of slightly rom-com-y with more relevant themes mixed into it, and just doing things like what we didn't really expect as much. Because like a long time ago, we probably would have like thought that if they were gonna make a Barbie movie, it would have just been like a one of those silly rom-coms with Barbie and Ken and doing whatever, all that stuff. But luckily, all that changed when Greta Gerwig got attached to direct and co-write. Right, along with a phenomenal cast, including Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. Can't go wrong with them. And also like movie is like well directed, well written, and good, and obviously great cast, great acting. It's very good aesthetics, especially the production design and the costume design. I can't go wrong with that. It's part of the whole thing. Practical sets, solid cinematography, and film editing, and a good soundtrack as well. So yeah, it's just like like I said, it also kind of whole tackles about about women in this world and certain influences and what it means to be human, and just having that internal connection with each other there, and so many other things. Some people might be think it's a little heavy-handed, but I didn't really think. Sure, but I didn't really mind it. It's just fun. It's like one of those movies where it's like you can do a lot of serious stuff, but also have fun at the same time, right? And we kind of need movies like that, because I feel like audiences over the past few years are either they're too fun or there's just a movie, even if it's screwy, very screwy, or all that, or they're just way too serious and stuck up. Yeah, they're judging it like hardcore critics and over-examining every single little detail. Right? That statement also applies to almost every other movie in here too. But the point is sometimes people and critics and audiences, you have to just have fun and loosen up. And this is one of those movies where you definitely need to loosen up and not be such a bummer, or that's one way to say it. There's definitely other ways to say it, but let's just not go into cursing territory. All right, but yes, this is number 5. Yeah, really good movie, Barbie. Next one, Anatomy of the Fall. Well, it's a very surprising and interesting movie. A bit straightforward, but it's trial stuff, so you're gonna half the time it's gonna be pretty straightforward. Or it's more where it's just interesting, the characters, the acting thing, along with the writing and directing thing, and pretty solid aesthetics. I think it's primarily it's film editing is what caught my eye a lot. And it's just a very interesting thing where it's was it a murder? Was it a suicide? Was it accidental? All that stuff. Where it does come into play. And how it affects our two main characters and the lawyers. So it's it's interesting. It's solid and well made. And captivating. And definitely pretty serious. Yes. Plus, also, even though the dog's not in the poster, the dog is. So yeah, Anatomy of the Fall. There's something. Number 3, The Holdovers. Yes, this is one of those another good example of a simple movie and just not trying too hard, just works. Where it's just a simple thing where you have to kids can't go home for the holidays for whatever reason. Then the cranky teacher, and here is the one in charge of them, and along with the grieving mother. So basically, a simple story about abandonment and broken people, from people. So, well, and spending in Christmas and maybe slightly growing from each other. And along with Alexander Payne's directing, he did really good. But the standouts are definitely the acting and the screenplay. Is the big one. Along with the aesthetics, so costume and production design, sound, solid editing, and fair cinematography. But yes, it's like and also like it's just like it hits you in the right ways. Like it's emotional and it's funny, and yeah, and it just works. Whereas and like I said, it doesn't try too hard to shove too many things into one. Where there would probably be a lot of movies where they would try and, other than the things I said, they would have added like double the amount of things, and it would fall. Then it probably would have fallen hard on its back. But luckily they didn't. And Alexander Payne and David and Hemmingson knew that and were just stick to the main objectives. It was in the main story and main focus. Yes, and that's why this is like a phenomenal movie. And spectacular. Alright. Number 2. Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of you saw this one coming. Leo, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone, and Martin Scorsese. Yeah, you got a big killer combo. And obviously, there's a few other names in here as well. So a whole ensemble, the acting, directing, and the screenplay, and its themes, and its film editing, cinematography, aesthetics, sound, the score. This is just a very powerful and relevant and engaging movie. It's just like something that works and in a very Martin Scorsese way as well. And it's just like, just beautiful, and one of those like very powerful and deep movies. So this is, and I know I'm probably, before I repeat myself, I'm just gonna wrap it there. But yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon is my number 2 pick on the ranking system. Now for number 1, Oppenheimer. Yes, we've all probably known. This is gonna probably, and have discussed that this will probably be the top pick. And it's also, I agree, and I'm sure a bunch of others agree as well. And to add to it, like Christopher Nolan has a strong filmography, which we all know. All of his movies are spectacular in different ways. And a lot of them have been building up to him making this one. I feel like I said this is probably going to be like, Martin Scorsese's The Departed will probably be like similar comparison to this, as being fair. But also like praise to not just the writing and directing, the acting, and the whole cast. It's a great ensemble. The cinematography, the score, the film editing, the aesthetics, and the effects. It's just all the stuff that like we all know and love about Nolan is like he just combines into this one to do a actual whole true story. Very well, another one, Dunkirk, is a true story, and spectacular movie. But I'm talking more like about a focus on a specific character and the people around it. And the actions he did that helped change the course of the future with atomic and nuclear weapons. And it's just like powerful, and it just feels like a Best Picture winner. It just feels like it. It's hard it's been a while. Last year there was a good one, and Everything Everywhere All at Once, that felt like a very Best Picture movie, and I agree. Yeah, but for like the past couple years prior, it was like tough to debate. But I mean, yeah, I think it was like before and thank God Coda won, because that year, if The Dull of the Boring won, that would have went down as like the worst Best Picture of all time. Right? It would have been labeled like that on the internet and all that stuff. I'm not just saying it from my opinion. Everyone would have like tried to crucify the Academy members for all that. But point is, like there's certain movies that feel like Best Picture, and this is one of those. So yes, Oppenheimer #1. So thank you for watching part 1 with all the rankings, and stay tuned for part 2 coming up in a little bit.